He stabbed her over 100 times, and by the defendant's own admission, he intended to stab and kill his wife.
It was around 4:55 a.m., and the neighborhood was quiet. Everyone still lost in sleep. But then, the silence was broken by the wailing of sirens. Police cars came speeding down the street, responding to a frantic 911 call. When they arrived at this house on 31st Avenue South, you could just feel something was off. The air was heavy, like it knew something terrible had happened. It was that moment when you just know, whatever's inside is going to be bad. As they got closer to the front door, it suddenly swung open, and there she was, a middle-aged Asian woman. Her face was bruised, marked with fear, and she was trembling so badly she could barely speak. As they enter the home, the officers are met with the metallic scent of blood. Then, suddenly, they heard heavy, deliberate footsteps coming down the stairs. A man appeared, slowly descending, his clothes soaked in blood. In his hand, he held a large kitchen knife. An officer quickly shouted, "Drop the knife!" The man froze, then slowly lowered the blade. As the handcuffs clicked around his wrists, he uttered words that would send chills down anyone's spine. "I killed somebody." Those words didn't even begin to describe the horror that awaited them inside. The officers moved deeper into the house. When they reached the kitchen, they found a scene of unimaginable horror. A young woman was lying motionless on the floor, her body covered in severe injuries. The violence was so overwhelming that even the most seasoned officers felt their stomachs turn. This wasn't just a crime. It was a brutal, frenzied attack beyond comprehension. Who were these people? What could drive someone to such unspeakable brutality? This quiet Seattle neighborhood, known for its diverse community and stunning views of downtown, has become the site of a gruesome tragedy. The house, a modest 2-story home, now holds dark secrets within its walls. As dawn breaks, detectives arrive to piece together the events of this terrible night. They soon learn that this home belonged to a family of 3, a couple and the wife's adult daughter. The husband was Chow, a 54-year-old man who had immigrated from Vietnam years ago. His wife, Lynn Tran, was the injured woman they first encountered at the door. The young woman in the kitchen was Angelina Tran, Lynn's daughter and Chow's stepdaughter. She was only 21 years old. Let's take a moment to talk about Angelina. She was the kind of person everyone loved to be around. A bright, promising engineering student, she was set to graduate from the University of Washington the following year. Balancing her challenging studies with a passion for helping others, she was always ready with a smile or a helping hand. She volunteered her time to support community organizations, especially focusing on issues affecting elderly Asian Americans. Her friends described her as a gem of a human being, someone whose radiant smile brought joy to everyone around her. Angelina had her whole life ahead of her, dreams, ambitions, the potential to make the world a better place, and all of that was stolen in one brutal, senseless night. Chow and Lynn had been together for nearly 2 decades, 19 years to be exact, practically Angelina's entire life. They only officially got married in 2022, just a year before that night. No one really knows why they waited so long to tie the knot. Lynn ran a small nail salon, and by all accounts, they seemed like a normal, hard-working couple. Angelina had grown up with Chow as her father figure, and even though they weren't biologically related, she saw him as her dad. But behind this seemingly ordinary family, there were dark secrets that would erupt into violence on that fateful night. As the detectives dug deeper, they started to piece together what had happened. It all started around 4:30 a.m. when Chow and Lynn got into an argument about money. But this wasn't just any argument. Something in Chow snapped. What began as a heated exchange quickly escalated into something far more violent. Chow, in a fit of rage, started hitting Lynn, striking her in the face and head over and over again. Security footage later revealed that he hit her at least 15 times. The noise woke Angelina. Hearing her mother's cries, she rushed downstairs. Imagine what she must have felt, seeing the man she'd called Dad, for most of her life, savagely attacking her mother. Without hesitating, she jumped in, trying to pull Chow away from Lynn. In the chaos, Lynn managed to escape and ran to a bedroom where she frantically called 911. But Chow's anger wasn't finished. Now he turned on Angelina. What happened next was all captured on the home's security cameras, and it's hard even to think about. Chow dragged Angelina into the kitchen, grabbed a large knife from a drawer, and began attacking her in a frenzy. Angelina fought back as hard as she could, even turning her back at times to shield herself, which led to deep wounds on her back. But Chow's rage was unstoppable. At some point during the attack, Chow, drenched in Angelina's blood, paused. You might think he would stop, maybe come to his senses, but no. Instead, he went upstairs, changed his clothes because he felt cold from the blood-soaked garments, and then came back down. He didn't stop. He grabbed a meat cleaver and continued his brutal assault on Angelina, even after she had clearly died. The medical examiner later counted that Angelina had been stabbed 107 times. 107. It was a level of violence that stunned even the most experienced investigators. After the attack, Chow wandered through the house, knife in hand, seemingly looking for Lynn. He later admitted that he was indeed searching for her, planning to hurt her too. If it weren't for Angelina's brave intervention and the timely arrival of the police, Lynn might not have survived that night. When detectives questioned Chow, he claimed the argument started because he saw money on the table and thought Lynn was planning to leave him and take his money. But when pressed, he admitted that she had never threatened to leave or mentioned divorce. They were, after all, newlyweds. It was all in his head, a paranoid delusion that had no basis in reality. This horrifying admission of premeditation led prosecutors to charge Chow with first-degree murder for Angelina's death and attempted first-degree murder for the attack on Lynn. The fact that he changed his clothes and then continued the attack played a big part in these charges. The brutality of the crime and Chow's apparent lack of remorse left the community reeling. Prosecutors, fearing he might flee the country, requested a massive $5 million bail. They pointed out his frequent travel between the U.S. and Vietnam and his apparent financial means. The judge agreed, and Chow has been in custody ever since. His arraignment, initially set for August 23, 2023, was postponed because Chow was medically unavailable. The rescheduled date of August 31st has long since passed. So where does the case stand now? Unfortunately, the wheels of justice often turn slowly, especially in cases as complex and horrific as this one. As of August 2024, Chow's case is still pending. His trial has been delayed multiple times due to various legal motions and the complexity of the evidence. His defense team is likely working on challenging the evidence or possibly exploring a mental health defense. Meanwhile, the prosecution seems to have a strong case. They have security footage, Chow's own admissions, and the sheer brutality of the crime all working against him. Prosecutors are seeking life in prison without the possibility of parole. And Lynn Tran, Angelina's mother? Her whereabouts are not publicly known, likely for her own safety. She's had to rebuild her life after this unimaginable loss. The family home was sold. She couldn't bear to live there anymore. This story is a reminder of how life can change in an instant, how the people we think we know can become strangers in a moment of uncontrollable rage. It's also a heartbreaking example of the lengths a daughter would go to protect her mother, even at the cost of her own life. As friends in the community try to make sense of this tragedy, they hold on to the memory of Angelina, a young woman with so much promise, so much to offer the world. But her bravery and love for her family will never be forgotten. The case against Chow will continue to unfold, and while justice may eventually be served in the courtroom, nothing can truly make up for the loss of such a bright, beautiful soul. Angelina's story is one of both tragedy and heroism, a testament to the power of love in the face of unimaginable horror. As we wait for the legal system to run its course, all we can do is remember Angelina for the person she was. And as for the neighborhood on Beacon Hill, it will never be the same. The events of that night have left a scar, a painful reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors. But amidst the sorrow, there's also a sense of resilience, a determination to honor Angelina's memory by holding on to the good she brought into the world. In the end, that's all we can do. Remember, honor, and hope that somehow something good can come from this unspeakable tragedy. That's where the story stands, for now. But it's far from over. The wheels of justice are still turning, slowly and painfully, as they often do in cases like this. The trial, when it comes, will be another chapter, one that will reopen wounds for everyone involved. But the truth is, no matter what happens in court, nothing will bring Angelina back. Nothing will erase the horror of that night. So as we close the book on this story for now, let's take a moment to reflect on Angelina's life, on the love she had for her family, on the bravery she showed in the face of unimaginable horror. Let's remember her not just as a victim, but as a hero, someone who, in her final moments, showed us what it truly means to love. And let's hope that in time, there will be some measure of peace for those who loved her, and justice for the life that was so cruelly taken away. If you found this story impactful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your engagement helps bring these crucial stories to light.